Good morning, good afternoon, HubSpot Nation, LinkedIn friends. We are here with another episode of Let's Build a HubSpot Super Admin with Lucy Abal. How are you doing, Lucy?
Hi, Chris. How are you? I'm doing great. Excited about today's discussion.
Yes, I'm doing wonderful as well. And we're going to start with what you just said before we went live, which was it's so uncertain. It just feels weird. The situation for everything HubSpot right now as all the AI development happens, as the customer base explodes, and we have all these new use cases across the platform. We've got current customers understanding that there's a lot more to take advantage of, but they haven't really been using HubSpot at all to take advantage of those things. So all these things are converging on, what we've been saying, the most powerful platform in the most affordable way, in the most maintainable, easy to use way. What's an admin to do in the midst of all of this uncertainty and weirdness, as you put it?
Well, so this week we started a new Super Admin Bootcamp cohort with the Academy, HubSpot Academy. And I can tell you that most of the super admins that come to the bootcamp, they manifest that they have become super admins by accident, meaning they were the content creators. So they were the ones, I don't know, doing blogs for the company. And then, okay, as they find their way over with HubSpot, they say, okay, yeah, now you're the admin. Or, for example, they were the sales manager and they started needing to create reports. And then suddenly they became the HubSpot admin. So I think everyone comes from different backgrounds, but even though they put their best effort in HubSpot, they don't really understand. And thank God they come to the bootcamp to understand and to learn about that. But they don't really understand how a CRM, how a platform that is a database in the back works, right? And so the first thing would be, okay, they need to understand how this works. They need to understand not only the business, but of course the platform to make the perfect match or try to make both things match, right? But another thing that I was telling you behind the scenes is that more and more I'm noticing that projects have a very big problem of data model. We have been doing a lot of re-onboardings of clients, and 50% of the efforts of the plan of the re-onboarding is defining the data model. Why? And attached to the thing that I have just said, because the person that has set up the CRM didn't have a technical mind, a technical background that could think about the data model, the data structure of a database. So that is completely understandable. And now we're seeing partners, especially, we're seeing a lot of new deals, new sales that HubSpot is doing, waiving onboarding. So I don't disagree with that. If you have a very technical expert people inside your company, that you can almost assure that the onboarding is going to be properly done. But even the best software companies, that most of them are our clients, they don't understand how HubSpot works. They can understand their own software, but they don't see HubSpot the same way. So they usually have big data model problems. So I would love it AI at some point help us fill this gap. But right now, I don't think that we are there yet. I don't think that we're going to be able to fill the gap, because for AI to work properly, you need to give them a lot of context and a lot of information about the business, about how you want it to be set up, and how you want the associations to work. If the person that is doing this, if they are talking or writing the prompt to AI, don't know this information, you don't know what you don't know. So how are you going to tell AI what to do? AI, of course, has a little bit of intelligence. So if you say, okay, I'm a SaaS company, AI can infer the data model that you should be thinking about. So then you can take a little bit more things. But again, I would love to think that AI is going to solve for us. But for the moment, I just see it as an assistant that is going to make our work faster, but not yet replace us, right?
Right. it is causing us, like, or we expect it to cause, like, the roles need to shift inside of our minds, really, in terms of, because there's lots of this stuff. The reason that we're so, like, we've never been good at data models, like, we're not just gonna get good now. It's pretty unreasonable to expect that, I think. So that's where we ask, where we're gonna get help from AI. And the last session, so we met a couple weeks ago, and the next day I got to talk to Willem Roos about, what we're seeing, in terms of, like, where, like, this homepage that's being developed, where you'll just talk to Breeze and it'll say, here's what you do next, right? This world where everything is just a, verbal command away from getting done. What does onboarding look like in those scenarios? And what we inferred, or what we predict that to look like, is step one, connect all of the data, right? Most companies, like, you're probably not even, it's not even structured well. Like, but if we can't connect to all of the context and all the data, then there's no shot for AI to help through the next step, which is, like, basically AI asking the question, what is it you do here? Like, to the person who wants to use HubSpot. So if you're a salesperson, you start talking through your sales process. You start telling AI about your customers, and that, I think end of year, we're gonna be there, like, with things like HubSpot MCP, coming out this week, which we're gonna be unboxing tomorrow. Like, there is no, it's all happen. I've yet to see something take longer than somebody says it's going to. Everything is happening much faster. And I shared a story on the morning show yesterday about how it's already here without even using AI in a lot of cases. Uh, Very quick recap of that story. Um, Alexa, based on my previous order history, tells me a notification that, based on my order history, I might need this, face cleanser that I like to use. And she was absolutely right. And through hands off, me just talking to Alexa, it showed up a day later, like, ordered. And that's where HubSpot can allow you to do things like that. But you have to have the data and the context and understand the users and the customers, right? So that's where, to your point, like, one of my first steps in any conversation is always, like, HubSpot's role. Like, because not only does that happen with SaaS companies not understanding, everybody thinks it's the lead management tool or the marketing platform or whatever. Sometimes people inside the ecosystem, people who have worked at HubSpot forever, like, still, like, see it like that. And so step one is, like, okay, let's confirm that HubSpot can do a lot more than that. It's not like, this is what customer platform means. And then step two, now we can talk about what a data model can even look like, because you have these tools at your disposal. So I think I'll tell you, compared to me, you're lowballing it at 50%. I tell people, like, 95% of the project is figuring out the data model, because all the build stuff, especially as AI comes, that's the easy part, right? Like, if we
Yeah.
don't get the data model part right, like, it's not going to go well.
But AI, imagine that AI is just making your fingers faster. But you still need the brain in the back. So
Right.
maybe AI is going to help you and guide you or give you recommendations, but you still need to decide what to be done. And you were saying something funny, that you said that maybe this was already here. And I think it is. So people think that now AI is super revolutionary and, oh, look what we can do. Or look, we can have a smart property that is going to go and look for values in internet and bring it and populate a property. Yeah, but what people don't know is that you can already do most of those things with Operations Hub. And Operations Hub, I realized this week in the bootcamp that 90%, but I'm not going to say, but 90% of my students don't know what it was, if it was worth it, what they can do, or even if they had it. Most people have purchased a bundle of products in HubSpot that they don't even know that they have Operations Hub available for them. So you can do a lot of things with Operations Hub, but people don't know. So now they get amazed by an agent that is doing it all quickly. Okay, yeah, A for effort, the agent can code it or do it by its own, but when you have a developer or you are working with an agency that have of course, the technical knowledge, we can do it for you. So either way, you're not going to do it. We do it. We put it there in your portal and you use it. But people don't know that they have that. So I think there's still a knowledge gap about HubSpot products. So the first thing that a super admin should know is what products are available from HubSpot, what are the ones that I have, what are the possibilities of the ones that I don't have. But sometimes they just go to look for third-party apps because they don't know that something exists in HubSpot ecosystem. So they go with Zapier, they go with Make, and although I love those apps for people that don't have the resources so that they just want to do simple things or that they prefer to do it that way, you still can use Operations Hub to do a lot of those things. So I think that the first step for super admins is always to know the technology, know the business, not only know the technical stuff of HubSpot, because maybe you're not going to know everything about HubSpot, especially now that it's changing so fast. And maybe at some point we will arrive at asking HubSpot and HubSpot would do it for us. But we still need to know a couple of, it's not technical, the word, but I don't know, the data model, the database, the definitions inside, right?
Yeah.
The other day I had a client super frustrated because they were trying to do an import and people always don't read the banners, right? HubSpot shows super big messages, but they don't like to read it. And they say, hey, I have a problem, look. And they send the screenshot. Okay, fantastic, you send the screenshot. But the person that defined the object put a required property for that registry creation. So they were trying to import and they didn't have that property in the file, so they couldn't move forward with the import because they didn't have that property. So now I don't know if people know that you can set specific properties that are mandatory for an object, right? It's like when you have the create form, you put the required fields, the same thing, but from the import point of view. So he was super frustrated about, I cannot do it. And I said, okay, but we need to change the definition of this object if you're not going to use that information, because right now you cannot import anything. You cannot create anything if you don't have that value. Okay, so we had to do a lot of things, but those kind of things that when you don't understand how the software works or what does these things mean, you get desperate, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to shout at, and you cannot solve it. So we need to understand a little bit more. The thing that we were discussing is that the super admin role is getting a little bit more technical in its nature, not because you need to develop or to generate code, even though a lot of people are trying, right? But because you need to understand that you need to know when you need to ask for something, what to ask for, even if it's a developer, an agency, or an AI engine, right? And I still see a lot of knowledge gap in that place. So I think that each one of us with the show, with the bootcamp, I think all of us sharing out profoundly and giving information and helping people, I think all of us are trying to make people more aware of that, to gain knowledge, to elevate the conversations, because they need to. At some point, they need to understand these kind of things. And I know that people could be older, people could be younger, they are more afraid, less afraid, more used to technology, less used to, but we all need, even if you are a content creator and you're going to use Content Hub, you need to understand a little how it works. So the connections behind the, I don't know, the campaigns. There is a kind of technical concepts that you need to tackle, right?
Yeah. Like the tools needed and the like the infrastructure needed, like you say, not to develop, but to know that, like, do you need to develop at all? Like, it's sometimes the most important question, because and that's where, like, if the only way you know how to do something is to pay somebody else to do it, that's not a great place to be in terms of, you as an admin. Like, that's not very aware, and it just puts you and your team in a worse spot in terms of understanding and keeping up with what's available, getting the most out of HubSpot, making sure you're investing in the right things. Because everybody has, like, inside and outside of HubSpot, everybody has like their preferred way of setting things up. And while that may have been a best practice, in the past, if you're never asking the question, is it a best practice now? Like, has HubSpot created anything? Like, that's often at the heart of this conversation as we go through updates every day and we unbox these things. It's like, at which point are we choosing to move the super trusted apps we've been using, move from them into the new HubSpot way of doing it, right? Because what we are, it becomes very easy to build the system when you haven't used any of the things before, right? Because we don't have all this tech debt and, emotional debt, I would say, as it attaches to these things. But we feel, at least me, Nico, and George, who are in this stuff, like, way more than anybody else. And it's hard not to think about what could be, but we think there's an opportunity to have, your LLM, say ChatGPT or Claude, HubSpot, and Google Workspace. And that could be the whole stack, right? With MCP, like, that's what I think a lot of people don't, and understandably so, because it's never been like this ever in our history. Like, MCP, Model Context Protocol, allows for every individual that can learn how to use it, which is getting easier and easier, to build your own tooling as it relates to accessing your data, right? So that's where, like, as an admin, you can either try to keep up, like, with that stuff, or you can just get really good at enabling everybody around you. One, like, most importantly, from a trust perspective, I think, is what I'm trying to highlight. Because if we get to that point where it's like, connect the data, and then AI is going to build all this stuff based on how you give it your strategy, like helping a salesperson talk to AI, like, and it's going to be trust based, right? Because all AI can do is just like we do in a discovery call. Okay, how do leads come in? Then what happens? Then what happens? Then what happens? Like, that's it. And if a salesperson is honest about the process, AI is going to be able to create, object infrastructure. It's going to be able to create a deal pipeline eventually, maybe not right away, but the things that we've normally have had problems with standardizing, and, like, should a deal stage be an activity, or should it be a state of being? Should it be 15 stages long? Probably not, right? What do association labels need to look like, right? If it,
The question there would be, because we're always talking about brand voice and trying to set a unified criteria or way of working or way of talking to our clients. So every salesperson is different. So if we're only going to rely on how they talk to this agent or AI feature, we need to set up the AI feature first. So people tend to think like, okay, yeah, I'm going to give access to all of my sales reps ChatGPT. Yeah, but that's not going to sound unified at all, unless you have a specific agent that you set up for yourself. But it's not most of the cases. People are still using the free tool. So I think everything should be considered proper. Nothing is so, even though everything sounds super easy to implement and to start using it, and yes, it is, you can start testing it for free. When it comes to businesses, it's not so easy to say, okay, yeah, let's just turn it on. Again, no, wait, we need to have some considerations. We need to set some things up. We need to set some rules. We need to say, okay, this is going to be like this. This is going to be used for this, for this, for this. So that is why I don't, and not yet trust entirely, let's just say, going out of HubSpot, because at least, yeah, HubSpot is still limited. Yeah, Copilot is not the best, but at least it has a coherence inside the CRM of what everyone is doing, or at least of what you have set it up to do. Your agents have a brand voice, you have set it up, you have defined how do you want them to work, how do you want them to reply, in what tone, what things to say, what things to trigger, not. So you have like a controlled environment. With ChatGPT, you haven't done that yourself. Or not, maybe not everyone. So you're trusting on everyone that has access to it to do it. But I think MCP is going to be a great tool if it's set up properly. Again, if it's done by someone that knows about this. But I think it's gonna change things a little bit until we arrive to that stage of having a full AI tool. I don't know if it's going to be this year, at least for current customers. I don't think so. For new customers, maybe we're going to face a new HubSpot at some point. I think we're getting there. And I wanted to ask you, and maybe people in the air, have you noticed the new menu?
The new nav menu?
The new nav menu, yes.
I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, you couldn't have missed it, I don't think.
But people are thinking that, yeah, now they just reorder things. Nowadays, it's just a new design. I can tell you it's not just a design.
Yeah.
It's reflecting something different, a new way of seeing HubSpot, something that we have been saying for a long time, something that we talked about in the bootcamp, that we are going to know Hub's idea, or at least to more tools that have a agnostic, let's just say.
Yeah.
So now we have a lot of things grouped, like in the CRM part, contacts, lists, templates, because they are not only for one Hub. Everyone can use those things. Then we have the discussion of core seats or not seats. Okay, but I think that is the idea that is starting to reflect. So I don't think people notice that. I don't think they fully understand why of this change. So some markets are, I don't know if you knew, but some markets are experiencing a new CRM suite HubSpot is selling. It's not currently, I think, in US. It's in Europe. It's a pilot test in Europe.
So Smart CRM I've heard about, Smart CRM seat.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why, because all of these tools, now they're all included in one main seat. So you don't have to have a sales seat. You don't have to have a service seat. If you want to have them, it's for specific things. So
that's amazing.
But that's the idea, is a lot of tools are or should be for everyone, not only for one role. And they actually are. So it's kind of ridiculous that you need to have, if you're a salesperson, but you don't have a service seat, you cannot choose, I don't know. Everyone should be able to use sequences, templates, snippets. So, but I think it's going that way. And that is why I think the menu is starting to change, because it's starting to reflect that. But people just think, oh, yeah, no, they changed the design again. Okay. But no, that's not. Every time that we see changes in HubSpot, it's not only design. Sometimes it has, of course, and most of the times it has design or user experience involved, but sometimes, or most of the times, it's reflecting a bigger change that is in the back, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's on the money, of course. And then we still have things like meetings, which is in the sales. section. And that's right. I'm telling people like next year, we will not even remember that there's navigation. Like, and just to reiterate this point, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Like, because almost everything, like, especially the way that I do shows and kind of try to keep up, it's hard not to view everything through this lens of where we're going. And like, so this is a beta that you can opt
Mm-hmm.
into, this homepage, right? In order
But
to be
I
able,
think that only enterprise portals can see this. I think
uh,
no pro.
no, you can get, it's at any level, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But to get to recent activity, right, across a customer platform, right? So we see here a deal, a workflow, a social media post, right? And I gave the feedback to the team, like, I'm like, can you, they asked me if I wanted to be able to scroll through this, right?
No, I would like to customize it and to put whatever I want there, not to be able to scroll.
Well, that's where like it's really hard to develop this for every use case and every user type, and like especially admins versus like individual users, right? So all of these I see as building blocks, as like on the way to AI being able to say like, okay, I know how you use this portal. I know how, like, that's it. Actually, like I know how you use this portal, just like Alexa's able to advise on which product I need to buy. Like there's enough activity, which we've seen like in the, the customer success team and the scoring, that they can, even in our own portals now, we can go, to the audit area, like the audit log, and see how people are using everything, right? Well, obviously, AI is going to be able to use this data, and that's how it's determining, right, what the home is going to be doing, what these suggestions are, this whole guided experience that everybody, at least as a user, not all the admins want it. I can say that. But as a user, we don't want to have to think about how to get to the list or how to create a new list or which report, to click on. Am I using task queues? And so this homepage, right? These workspaces where we get to stuff like
But
the
do you think those
prospecting agent.
spaces will do you
Go.
think those will replace dashboards?
Yes. Yeah, because we already have it here, right? And it's interesting, like if you pay it, this is why it's so hard to keep up, right? And that's why we do the content. We can start to connect the dots because the sales workspace is doing some stuff, customer success workspace is doing some stuff, help desk is doing some stuff. They're trying different things and eventually they all converge, right? So the dashboard is only available, I think, in sales and not the other
Enterprise.
two, but all these tabs, right? And this is where, even though I talk about it every day, like that's why we separate awareness versus like understanding. Like you can't understand what the tool can do for you if you're not aware of what's available. But just because you know what's available doesn't mean you know how it's going to work for your business. I just like finally dipped my toe into the customer success workspace this week. And it's everything I've been asking for in terms of an order management tool. Like for me, like when you have services, which is I renamed to deliverables and it becomes an order management, like post-sale stuff, right? But you have it right next to deals. Like it's customer success can equal, the order management team because it's literally customers, the thing you got to do for them, and all the revenue related to that activity, past and present, like past, present, future,
The only
right?
feedback that I got this week from a client, and that I think is pretty accurate, is that these workspaces look great for the for the people that are working in it. For the managers, we don't have like a general space unless we build a dashboard with all the information of all the teams on what everyone is doing. So
Yeah.
that's still, and I think it's true because we are so focused on the people that are working in the platform, the sales reps, the customer success teams, the CSMs, everyone, that we don't think about the managers. So we are missing this upper layer. At some point, we started thinking about the business, the business, the business. Then we went all the other on the other extreme, and we just thought about the people working, 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 and we forgot to build the layers of okay, but who's managing these people? What do they need to see? And we just only left the dashboard parts to be built because we need to build them for them to see the whole operation. So I think that these workspaces were missing. Some of them still are. They were missing this whole team or section metrics for the managers to be able to see everything in one place. They still need to go and switch between users if they are super admins. And unless they build a good dashboard, they're not going to be able to see it. So I still think those are work in progress. Of course, a lot of them are in beta. We still need to give feedback. I would love to customize them, but it's not possible yet. But yeah, I think they're a great progress. And I was asking about if you thought that they were going to replace dashboards, because I think dashboards out of context, without being in the right area and seeing it with all the other things, they tend to not be used. I see a lot of portals with 50 or more dashboards that no one is looking. They're just using 1, 2, or 3. And okay, why did you build all the other ones? Because we are getting more and more specific analyzed tabs inside each area that, okay, we're getting there. We're getting the information that we want to. And I don't know if you have seen a new tab also that it's called Accounts Insight.
Yeah. Before we jump there,
Yeah.
I wanna answer your previous request of the sales performance workspace, which is currently in private beta. And they've I don't think they've added a lot. It's not like one of those open, just let everybody in, because there's a lot of things that have to be going well in terms of portal usage, right? For this to mean something, right? But here it is, a centralized workspace designed for sales managers to monitor team performance,
But
right?
isn't it funny that just now we're figuring that this is a beta? This should be something, or this should have been something that we should have had this like years ago. Right? Why are we
Right.
having this just now?
Well, I mean, obviously, this is my view and not HubSpot's view, but you know, this push towards upmarket enterprise, like this is the kind of stuff that loses deals, right? Like if you
Mm,
don't have functionality like this, where it's super easy for management to be seeing what multiple teams in multiple spaces are doing, right? We see it, the example here. It's hard to read, but like,
yeah,
you know, APAC versus Europe versus US, being able
yes,
to
it's
split that up, right, and create these different experiences, super important for global organizations, obviously. And we see all this other related stuff where it's like time zone management is not is getting better. Like all the language translations. These are all the things that AI is doing behind the scenes that
yeah.
it doesn't always say that it's AI is happening, but now all of a sudden we can translate into all these languages. Like, of course, like
Yeah.
something's going on back there to help with that. Now we've finally figured out time zones, and that's not going to be a mess anymore. It's like, yep. Um, so you had mentioned the account insights, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think this was one of the things that super admins used to tell HubSpot during a long time that we needed this. So we started having the audit. Yeah, but it wasn't quite that. Account insights, it's still not the thing that we wanted to have, but until until we get to what we want or what we need, I think it's a pretty good thing. So, for example, we're starting to see here. I don't know if you have seen it, but maybe if not, I can share.
Yeah, you can share. And I'll
No.
just say hello to Daniel here. We're also loving these workdays updates, and I have seen the workflows UI, and I'm thankful that it's here. Actually, this morning we just went over. They've added some permissions, a permissions layer to properties, and whether you can use them or not in a workflow.
Yes.
So let me bring this one down and add this one. What are we looking at here, Lucy?
I think the idea of this section that you can find under account defaults, you have account insights. I think these are all like the different tabs that we found along the CRM. So, for example, the lists that haven't been used, or for example, the workflows that have errors, or for example, the forms that haven't had submissions in X amount of time. So I think there's our basic things that when we always talk about how to audit a portal, this is a good help for people to know where to start. Okay, there's a lot of lists that haven't been used. Why? Are we still using this list? Have we cleaned this up? Do we have problems or inconsistencies with the filters? Are we not using those properties? So at least you have a place to start with, right? And I think if we could prioritize this, or if we could rearrange it, maybe, again, I always love to be able to customize this for my own needs or for the client needs. But okay, let's just forget about that a second and be grateful for what we have. I think it's a great start because people maybe don't know that these sections exist in the list section, in the form section, in the workflow section, but at least now you have them all together. So if you have to come here and say, okay, this is happening, this is not happening, or I can go to the next page and say, okay, now I can customize my IVR. I haven't done it before. Okay, I can do it. Maybe I would still need to have a button here to say escape because this is not relevant to me. But again, I think it's a good start. It used to be kind of disguised in some other places, but now it has like a more important place here in the account management menu. So I think that we have a good title here, account management, but I see that most of the things that we have inside here are not account management at all, are account setting maybe. So maybe HubSpot, if you're hearing us, please separate these sections into account setting and account management. It used to be account setting because the area is called settings. But then we got creative and started changing names like we can do with the objects now, but we forgot about the purpose and the goal of the section. So if we could separate this, that would be great. But I think it's kind of disguised here in between, and we have product updates here too. But okay, people, now you know that if you can see it here, you have this section available.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen account insights in any of my portals. So I anticipate there's lots of things being rolled out. I know this is a step towards like there's things like this that they have to start doing as they go, like the smart CRM seat, like you were talking about, like as they start to break down the barriers. And don't only forget to get that URL from you, because maybe it's accessible and we just can't see it on the menu. But there's this, when we think about all these workspaces, it's easy to be as an admin. You're like, oh, I want a workspace. Where's my workspace? Well, it's been in settings and now it's coming into data management, and we're seeing these other spaces. Even some of the stuff they're doing in the CRM index views, like bringing stuff into there, right? Being able to build lists and reports from there. But I've seen like, so what you just showed is a window into what's coming from an admin workspace. I don't know if they're going to call it that, but there is guidance coming, which is what one of my favorite uses of AI is like, hey, there's a bunch of lists that haven't been touched in months. First of all, showing us that, making it very easy for us to see that and then go review it, but also like one button, archive all the lists. Like, and those are the kinds of suggestions. And this is where trust comes into play. Like, until we get to the trust milestones, we're never going to let AI do it. But once we do that, and the same thing happens over and over, the AI is going to start suggesting, like, can I do this for you? Right. And that's the next step. And you're going to say yes. And you say yes 10 times, it's just going to start doing it.
Or
And
for
we just
example,
have
to set it, up, let's just say, okay, if this list is not used in the next 90 days, please archive it or turn it off. If this workflow has no activity in the next X amount of days or months, turn it off. So
yeah.
I think we are getting there. Some features now let us at least get notifications and all that. But at least now you get to delete a contact also. That a couple of years ago we weren't able to do that with a workflow. So yeah, I think there's a lot of great ideas that I encourage people also to post them in the ideas forum, because if not, the product team wouldn't know, or at least they don't know if this is something priority for all users or not. And if you haven't been ever to the ideas forum, I would suggest that you go, because maybe something that you have been complaining a lot for the last couple of weeks or months, maybe is already an idea there that you can upvote, so that the product team could notice them and start at least considering it for product updates. And it has worked in the past, because I can testify that I have put ideas there that have become actual product features in HubSpot or areas as the partner portal. So it works. So try to do so, try to share it on LinkedIn, try to make more people upvote your ideas or give your upvote to other people's ideas, because I think that's the great way to make the product better and more robust. Because when we're thinking about AI, I think we are only thinking about the user interface. Okay, we just want to speak like we speak to ChatGPT, AudioPen. We just want to speak to something, but in the back, it's still the tool, right? So it's just that maybe you don't want to see it anymore, you don't want to navigate it anymore. You just want the result, and that's okay. But if the feature doesn't exist, even if I say, hey, associate this and that possibility is not existent, that's not going to happen. You're just going to have a, sorry, I didn't get that, or sorry, I cannot do that currently at the moment, that's not available. And we're going to get so frustrated about that. That is not going to serve the purpose. So I really love, for example, that, and here is a warning for HubSpot ecosystem or for HubSpot product managers. I really loved the other day, sorry, I don't remember the name of the Tango manager that was the CEO, the founder that was doing.
Yeah. Ken.
Okay. So I really love that Ken said the other day that they had to rethink the way of how the tool wanted to work, so that it was really thinking about AI first, and how do they want the navigation to be. And the way that sometimes I think that we're seeing HubSpot is that we're trying to enforce AI into something that wasn't AI thought.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if I told you, or people know that I'm in the AI partner advisor group now, that we're trying to think about the future of HubSpot with AI. And this is one of the first things that we discussed on our first meeting. Because I was saying that if we are thinking about AI from the platform that we have today, we are missing the point, because there's still a lot of things missing in the platform today. But if we're thinking about, it's just imagine for a while a whole new HubSpot, maybe it's called Breeze CRM, I don't know, whatever it's going to be called. And if it's called Breeze CRM, please note that today, May 8th of 2025, I said this. If we are thinking about starting with AI, the things are probably going to be different in the back. So this is like, okay, you're gonna put a motor into a bicycle. It's still going to be a bicycle with a motor. It's not going to be a motorbike. I don't know. It's like just
Yeah.
because you're adapting something, it doesn't make it a different thing.
Yeah.
So just the exact conversation that we were having about the objects the other day. So I think that if you're thinking about AI first, an AI first CRM, maybe except from the data model thing that is going to be like a constant in the back, maybe changes everything how we're thinking about how the CRM should operate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the
But-
only thing that I'm thinking when we say no, HubSpot is going to evolve into AI. I don't think it's going to evolve. I think it's going to, or it should turn into a completely different thing.
Yep.
I hope it turns into a completely different
Oh,
thing.
and that's what we're seeing in some of the new screens, that what records are going to look like. And it's like, it doesn't have to be so surprising. Like when we think about the value of HubSpot and why it's so much easier to use and maintain and manage, is like the modular way that you can build stuff. And if you build it like this over here, it's probably going to act like that in this part of the platform, right? And that's where we get in trouble when, even when we're saying data model. Like if you think we're only talking about CRM records, right? We're not. We're talking about everything in Commerce Hub, Content Hub, and video metadata, blog metadata. Like all of this is related to the customer data model, marketing events, right? All this stuff. Once you start to design it together, that's where AI is going to do a lot of collaboration for you, and that's where AI first says, hey, this is how the process actually works. Like in real life, what does my data need to look like? And what do the relationships between the data need to look like? So I'm not having to, repeat this data entry. And then from there, what is actually worth tracking? Because what's been fun to think about are things like, Clemen just brought this up, like open rates, right? Even though it hasn't been like as a number, you should not be focused like as an individual, like what's our number today versus tomorrow. Like when things are just opening things, like that number doesn't mean as much, but we could do trend analysis, right? But when every email has a personalized subject line, why are we tracking open rates? Like, what is that going to tell us if every single subject line is different, right? And those, like you said, rethinking everything like that, because, and not attaching to the safety of like, oh, I've open rates have always been important. We know how to, but when you know that to get into somebody's inbox, like, and to get them to open something, that personalization. And if you could do it at scale effectively, of course you would. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Right. And just letting AI help from that perspective, but also giving it the context it needs to be able to help. And that's where admins, like my advice right now is getting good at helping the rest of your team build some trust and just helping everybody learn how to speak plainly and just describe the process. It doesn't matter that it's a machine or it's HubSpot or whatever. Ask like what actually happens. I call this person and then this email gets sent and then we create this deal. But it would be cool. I don't like to have to do that because I have to create it in this stage and just say everything out loud. Right. And just creating that safety for people to share the process and to share what actually happens is going to be the hardest part, because
And
you get
it's
things out and then AI is not going to understand it. And then it's going to be like, oh, okay, we'll label all this stuff and then it's going to be great. And then people aren't going to use it because it's not working for them. And that's going to be the AI's fault. Right.
and it's funny that you say that, because now people are comparing traditional sequences with the prospecting agents. But it's
Yes.
like comparing shoes with apples.
Mhm.
It's like you said, you cannot compare it, because the prospecting agent, if people doesn't know what it does, is like generating actually personalized. If you go fully automated, is creating personalized emails, personalized subject lines, personalized everything. So there are no, or almost no, two same emails or sequences for two different contacts. So you cannot compare the performance of the prospecting agent to the performance of traditional sequences. Imagine that even though they kind of do the same practical thing, imagine that there are two completely different features that they have nothing to do, and you have to evaluate metrics separately. And the same thing is happening with all the other agents, the customer agent, the chatbots. And it's different. The experience is different. So we need to stop comparing a customer agent versus a traditional agent or someone from the customer success team answering emails or a chat. It's different.
Yeah.
And it's normal that it's different because you're comparing a machine that is analyzing a lot of content and trying to do something very personalized versus a human that is in a rush trying to read something, understand the best way that they could, not searching always in the internet and trying to do as much or as many things and as many emails and as many prospecting in a day as you put them in the goal to do. So it's different. Yeah, I'm not saying something is better or something is worse. I'm just saying they're different. And I wanted to do a funny exercise just to finish our call today. Now that we're talking about AI and doing onboardings with AI, what do you imagine would be the proper order of setup, for example, for Marketing Hub? If you're doing an AI guided onboarding, what should be the first step? Or for Sales Hub, if it's easier, if you want.
In this world where we can just talk to the AI,
Yeah.
data connection, like making sure like it doesn't have to be in HubSpot. It might not have to be anymore, but the syncing of systems, like can AI see all the data that is valuable? And then who's your customer? Like, funny enough, it's exactly what you have to do to set up the prospecting agent right now, right? Who's your customer? Why should they care about you in terms of your value prop? What do you do for them? And then what do the actual products and services actually look like? And then process, like how do you get them to be a customer? And then how do you support them after? It should be that simple, right? And that's
And
where
what are the steps that you do, right? Just to try to map the pipeline, let's just say.
Right. Yeah, that's where these are things we've been bad at forever. Like, and we should embrace like getting this kind of help, right? And that's where when you show people the prospecting agent, I mean, we've been doing this for 25 years, like in SaaS, obviously long time outside of SaaS before that, but companies have not even established a value prop. They do not have a documented, this is how we help businesses. This is our ICP. This is our like true persona, right? Like, and that's where it's the difference. This is going to break down all the barriers between marketing and sales and service. Because how many times does marketing create a persona that they think is right? And then sales is like, oh, that's not who my best customer is, right? And that's where AI is going to be this mediator of sorts, just to intake the data objectively and then, set up a system that probably won't be right the first time. But what I envision is like, okay, this is what I think the process is. And sales goes through it, let's say. And they're like, oh, I've got to deal with this engineering person. And I didn't tell you about that. And then AI is like, okay, engineering contact, engineering association label. Now, do we need that to be required in the process? If yes, now it's a required thing at this stage that this contact needs to be associated. So literally just, it doesn't even have to be all the data, but once you start to get subjective about which data it needs, that's when you get in trouble, right? Because people are going to have their spreadsheets. They're going to have There's systems like, oh, the ERP has the data, but it's really this part of the data, right?
Yeah.
So if we can get our teams to just be like, connect it all, it's safe, it's secure. HubSpot's a $1 billion company. They care about security, and they're not just going to unleash an unsecure AI all over your business, right? So again, we're come back
And
to trust.
I wonder if people are going to trust what AI onboarding agent is going to tell them, because the other day we were having this internal discussion uh, because some of the girls in the team said, no, but if we change the pipeline, the business is not going to be happy. And I asked her, who do you think the business is? And she said, no, the team member, the partner team member. And I said, that's not the business. Those are the team members. The business are the managers. The business are the stakeholders, the people that actually call us to help them do things better in HubSpot. No, but they are happy with the process. But let's just imagine that AI comes. So they can tell us, no, I don't want to change the pipeline. But let's just imagine that you're describing things and all of a sudden AI says, no, you're doing this wrong. Your pipeline stage should be this, and this. And from now on, I'm going to change it. And you just work with this. Go. Who are you going to discuss with? Are you going to discuss with AI, with the agent, with the setup agent that you're working with? Are you going to look for us saying, tell the AI agent that I want the pipeline to be different, and you go and change it? If the AI agent told you that this is the optimized process, because of 98% of the companies in your industry are working with this pipeline, and it's going to, the success rates are X%, and are you going to keep doing the things your way? Just to make the team member that only knows how to do the things that way happy.
Yeah.
But those kind of decisions, that criteria, that expertise that most of the people that like us, that we have working with clients for a long time, that we have the certainty to say, hey, no, this is not like this. I don't know if AI has that knowledge yet. Of course, it has more capacity to access information than us, but I don't think it has the criteria to do those type of decisions. Not
Right.
even as humans to know
Yeah.
sometimes.
And yeah, definitely not yet. And now we're getting into our Singularity Soothsayer show that Nico and I do. The philosophical stuff around this, because what most people don't like, this is why as an admin, you need to get real good at communicating with your stakeholders. Don't expect AI to be bad at it, right? Because once it does get to the place of coaching, which is kind of what we're describing right now, I guarantee, and this is not more than a year away, all it takes is connection to all the data and enough learning to be able to do this. It's going to be doing things like, oh, I hear you, Lucy. I understand why you might want that stage. Here's why we're not going to add it, right? And it's going to have a level of empathy because it knows that's how humans need to be talked to in order to, get the usage, right? Which I know for a fact, AI is going to understand that if the CRM does get used, then it cannot provide value, right? So that's where I do look forward to the coachability. And that's where if it's not connected to everything, and if it's being taught by a customer base of HubSpot that is 80% SaaS companies, right? I try to highlight that for people all the time. A lot of the suggestions we get right now from Breeze, for me, somebody that's focused on post sales and manufacturing, not super helpful when every email suggestion is a prospecting email, like basically, or that tone, right? But it's never going to be worse, than it is. It's always getting better. It's always learning. And that's where the faster you can get your people to jump in and start interacting with it, it's going to get, it's already getting, like, if you've been paying attention to what prospecting agent was when they showed it the first time to what it is now, it's like, man, And that's where you start to see all these other acquisitions like Frame.ai, Dashworks. That is the world that you just described in terms of AI first, right? Man, it's been an hour already, Lucy.
We get entertained discussing the kind of stuff.
Yep. But it's been fun either way. We hope it's helpful. Good to see you, Daniel. Always hard from a LinkedIn perspective to see who's watching, and we appreciate everybody, for watching. And I'm sure the conversation will continue, but I think as we have tools like a data model builder, and if this is going to be really where you need to get good at for your organization, I think maybe next time we can kind of be good to have a walkthrough session of mapping data and what you can do to get started on that in an AI first world. How about that?
Sure. I love it. Let's just
All
do it.
right. Well, until next time, hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Thanks so much, Lucy.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.